They open the letter, and then if it says something, and I can speak a lot to that, meaningful or whatever it says, you can't really get it wrong, then you're going to be like, oh my gosh, it's going to blow people's mind, and you didn't even know that for 66 cents and about 15 minutes of your time, that you could literally change the trajectory, not just of someone's day, of their entire year probably. And I had no idea that impact. And so you think about that happened to me 600 times. And when people started to respond, I was like, oh my God, I've unleashed this complete flood of good, and I didn't even mean to. The best part of the whole story is this. You asked how it changed me. If I reach out to you with nothing but goodwill on the line, no angles, no sales, nothing, and then you reply to me in kind, then all of a sudden, all this stuff that separates us in this divisive culture we live in, the politics, the religion, where do you stand on gender equality, like all this stuff, it certainly matters. What we believe certainly matters. It just starts to dissipate. I found out in writing the letters, people would say stuff, oh, the timing of your letter was perfect. And I was just drawing names out of this box every morning. And there was a magical element to this, and everybody can frame it however they want to, whether it's faith-based or the spirituality or however they want to frame it. But the story of human connection and love can't be defined or quantified. And over again, I found out this whole thing in connections and love and hope, it's just off the chains. We just have to let it go. We can't explain it.
Welcome to Catching Up to FI, a podcast on mindset, money, and life for late starters of any age on their journey to financial independence. I'm Bill, and I'm a late starter.
I'm Jackie, and I'm also a late starter, and we're your host. We're here to help you on your journey to financial independence, no matter where you're starting.
We're going to talk to experts, other late starters, and explore topics related to our mission.
Join us as we catch up to FI together.
Hello, and welcome back to Catching Up to FI. I'm Bill Yount with my co-host Jackie Cummins-Koski. Jackie, how are you doing today?
Hey, Bill, I'm doing great. As always, I'm so excited for our guest today. We're going to move a little bit away from the hard numbers and talk about some other skills that would be helpful. So I'm really excited about our guest today.
Yeah, well, you're on fire with your new book. We're learning
Look at you,
background.
got it back there.
We're talking to another author. We're talking to Amy, who's a native Houstonian and graduate of the Texas Tech University. She subsequently received her MBA and worked in purchasing industry for 10 years. Moving later to England due to her husband's job, she found herself temporarily unemployed. Who in our late starter audience hasn't found themselves temporarily unemployed and having to reinvent themselves? She did the next obvious thing and reinvented herself as a freelance writer, award-winning author, and keynote speaker. For more than a decade now, she has written about college football, go figure, and sometimes talks about her feelings. She refers to herself as a Texas girl living a size 6 life in size 12 jeans. She's authored 2 books. The book we're here to talk about today is Dear Dana, That Time I Went Crazy and Wrote 580 of my Facebook friends a handwritten letter. This book has won several awards, including a Reader's Favorite Award in 2023, a gold medal for nonfiction relationships. She has been a guest on The Kelly Clarkson Show, talking about her journey into rediscovering the power of an old school handwritten letter. As you can tell, and as Jackie mentioned, this show is a little out of the box from our typical content. Remember, however, that we are a mindset, money, and life podcast. This show is about the power and importance of connection in our lives. I have no doubt that you'll be entertained and moved by Amy and her story. Amy, welcome to Catching Up to FI.
So much, Bill and Jackie. I am excited to be on.
Well, in the digital age, we have texting, email, Instagram, X, Facebook, and so many choices as to how to communicate. And the art of letter writing, thank you notes, for example, and even phone calls has just gone by the wayside. Heck, I've met young people now who can't read or write cursive anymore. And my handwriting is terrible. How the heck did you get involved in rediscovering this journey back into handwritten letters?
Well, it's a great story, and I like to start it by saying I was minding my own business. I was just doing life. I'd written 1 book. I was a freelance writer, a mom, a wife, And I was on Facebook one day, and it's so relatable. And I had this old friend from camp whose name had always been kind of floating around in my head. Her name was Dana. And we had spent 6 weeks together one summer in 1986 at a summer camp as counselors. And I'd always kind of wondered what happened to her, but we spent 30 years not having one bit of contact. So I'm sitting on Facebook one day and I thought, oh, what happened to Dana? I pull her name up and there she is. So I friend request her because it doesn't mean anything if you friend request someone on Facebook. I mean, she can accept, but we're not actually going to do anything. So I friend request her. She accepts. I kind of think maybe she remembers me too. And then I do the next obvious thing. I go look at her page, a little light stalking. I go through her life. I look at her pictures, and I realize right away that she has overachieved in the children department. She has 5 kids and 4 girls, and the youngest is the only boy, a son named Parker. And right away I figure out Dana and Parker are at St. Jude in Memphis, Tennessee. So this kid has cancer and he's probably fighting for his life if he's in Memphis. So right away, as a human being, as a person, as a mom, I get involved in this story. I did feel like I was a little overfeeling it even at the beginning, but I just went with it. So I started looking and she asked for prayers. I like to pray, so I start praying. I follow along with these people's story. I don't like any of her posts. I don't comment. I just feel myself getting more and more involved in the story. Well, Parker goes into remission. They go home to Louisiana where they live, and it kind of goes on the back burner of my consciousness. Now, she posts about LSU football a lot, and I like that. So I kind of follow along with her story again, but I'm not super involved in it. Then towards the end of that year or the next year, Parker relapsed, and Dana shares about that. And she's like, we got to go back to Memphis. And I'm like, oh no, this is bad. Again, I can feel myself overfeeling it. And I like to tell this story in like levels of craziness on my part. Like I was not acting completely rationally because I see her post about them returning to the Ronald McDonald House in Memphis. And I sit down at my desk and immediately, like a bolt of lightning hits me in the head. I'm like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to start writing Dana and Parker cards and I'm going to mail them to the Ronald McDonald House. Okay, guys, that's crazy because I have not spoken to this woman in 30 something years. I've never met the kid. They don't even know I really exist. I'm just watching on Facebook. But I'm so committed. I'm in a way that makes no sense. I sit down and once a week I start sending the 2 of them cards and letters. And I'm like, oh, I'm thinking about you. And I try to be funny. And the whole time I'm thinking, this is irrational. This woman is trying to help her kid fight cancer and you're going to send her letters. And I hadn't sent anyone a letter in 30 years. So it's not like this is what I was doing in my life. And so I guess I write Dana and Parker for 8 to 10 weeks. And then you can see on Facebook that her posts start to shift. Something's going on. And so then unthinkably, there's no good words for this. It has nothing to do with me. Parker passes away, and he's only 15 years old. And so I know it has nothing to do with me. I feel devastated as if Dana and I had done the last 15 years of life together because I'm so pulled into the story in an unreasonable way. And so I sit back and I'm like, what am I supposed to do now? And I'm like, you know what? I kind of got a clear gut instinct. I'm just going to keep writing her letters. So then I go really crazy and I go and like, where do I mail them in Louisiana? I don't even know. This is Facebook. I don't even know what town she lives in. So I go and find her husband's law office address and I just start sending the letters there once a week. I had this writing schedule for college football. So I would write Dana on Sunday and mail it on Monday. And I knew I was crazy, but I just kept writing her until I'm thinking about you. I didn't even know what to say. So I just started filling her in on my life. Well, 5 months into doing that, guys, I go to my mailbox in Dayton, Ohio, because that's where I lived at the time. It's my birthday. I pull out a stack of mail, junk mail, junk mail, junk mail, letter from Dana in Louisiana. So she had written me back. And so I go inside and it's a 10-page letter from this woman. And she shares about her grief. She shares about what's going on in her life. And it was one of the greatest things that's ever happened in my life. And so this kicks off 2 years of us writing each other letters back and forth. And it created this incredible free space because I don't know if she's reading anything I wrote to her. She has no clue when or if I'm reading her words. So I start looking at my life from the outside in, my marriage, my kids, my job, and it gives me this incredible perspective of my life. She writes about her grief. She tells me after the fact that she went into a room with her 4 daughters and her husband who are suffering this horrible grief. And she doesn't want to bring the room down as the mom. She writes to me about her grief. And we developed this trust between us. Like a year into it, she would say, well, I know I can trust you with this. We had never spoken. We had never texted each other. We had never emailed each other. And the best part was, I didn't know how she voted. I didn't know what she believed in. I knew nothing about that. All I knew is I cared. I really cared about this person because of these letters, and she really cared about me. And it was so rich. I sat back after about 8 months of her writing me back with these letters crossing through the mail. I was like, if this can happen with this one girl, like what other untapped goodness is in this list of random people on Facebook? I was like, you know what I'm going to do? And this is when I went like next level, all world, nutso, like wacko. I was like, I'm going to put all these people's names in a box and I'm going to have stationery printed. And I'm writing all these people a letter. And you know what? I didn't think I was going to finish, seriously, or I don't know if I even thought what I was going to do. I journaled the whole thing. And once I got into this project of writing these people letters, I realized this was the most special thing I was going to do in my life. And so that's what I did. It took me 18 months and I wrote 580 handwritten letters, and it blew up the entire trajectory of my life.
Wow, that is so amazing. So, do you think you would have gotten a similar response if you were emailing or direct messaging Dana?
Oh, no, I don't think so, because I don't think she would have been as free to
Yeah,
say the things she said. Because, and the other thing about, yeah, letters, non-intrusive, she never felt, I mean, she wrote back because I know now that's who she is, but she never, I don't think she ever felt like she had to write me back. I think it just, at some point, maybe my craziness just overtook the room and she like figured maybe it was like a cease and desist when she wrote me the first time. But I think she felt free to say whatever she wanted to say or say nothing. Because if you get a letter, you
yeah,
don't know, like if you, Jackie, write me a letter, you don't know if I read it. You don't even know if it got there because
right,
you dropped it in a
right.
blue box somewhere and just hope for the best. I mean, when we pay our bills, sometimes you're like, well, I hope the IRS gets my check because we're not sure.
Well, I heard you mention Dayton, Ohio. Do you know that that's where I live?
No, that's what.
I saw your story. I saw your reference to Dayton. Oh my gosh, we have that connection. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
12 of the best years of my life because I'm a Texas girl as promoted and advertised.
Yeah, I know you live in Texas now.
But I wrote the entire Facebook project, 600 letters, and the first 5 years of writing Dana were all in Dayton, Ohio.
Gosh, why didn't you hit me up, Amy, while you were in Dayton?
I didn't
This
know, but
is so
I go
fascinating.
back to Dayton, but I count the Dayton, Ohio, Washington Township branch of the post office as my secret weapon, my friends. Dayton, Ohio has such a special part of this story, though. That's the birthplace
Yeah.
of the story, and the Wright brothers, and NCR.
So I was about to say birthplace of the Wright brothers. That's awesome.
Well, you talk about being crazy and struck by a bolt of lightning. I mean, this sounds like off the rocker crazy. I mean, yeah, you can write a letter, a thank you card, and people may do that still once in a blue moon or a while. But you took writing one letter to a person in need who had come from your remote past back in the days of Camp Winnebongo or whatever it was. And it turned into this sort of viral, possessed, crazy woman letter writing, amazing journey. Take us through, and you said too, which is interesting, Dana did not respond for months and months and months. And I'm sure her headspace was full. She was so focused on her child. It may have given her joy, but she's, I don't have the room in my life to do this. She didn't write back to you until after he passed, correct?
Right, yeah, she didn't write back until about 5 months after he passed away.
And are you guys still corresponding today?
Well, we're best friends now, and she calls me every morning on the way to work, and I see her about once a month. We live 4 hours apart now. I saw her last week because she had a big birthday. But yeah, I mean, and that's the other part of the story. And as much as it's so easy to frame the story and talk about how great I am, like Amy Daughters wrote all these letters. I mean, I'm the person most changed, and I got the best friend in the world out of this whole deal, non-intentionally. I'm the one who's changed the most, that's been most transformed by this.
I mean, it almost sounds like a blind date. You had known each other, but you go on this letter writing journey for months and months and months. When did you finally connect beyond the written letter in a Zoom call or in person or a telephone call? And who broke the ice then?
Well, she sent me an email, I don't know, like I said, 2 years in, maybe a year and 3/4. And she said, look, my family and I are going to go to Memphis to run the St. Jude Marathon to raise money for St. Jude in honor of Parker. And we were living in Dayton at the time. She was in Louisiana. She said, do you want to come to Memphis? And I was like, Dana, I will walk through a window for you. Like, I wasn't a runner. I ran a 5K. I will do whatever you want me to do. Because at this point, we've been writing back and forth. And I guess we knew at some point we were going to meet in person. So we still didn't talk on the phone until I got to Memphis. And she said, call me when you get here. And they had booked us a hotel room. I mean, because I had no idea what the letters meant to her. So she said, call me when you get here. And so I get on the phone with her. I'm like, I'm here. And she's like, oh my gosh. I was like, oh my gosh. I didn't even know what she sounded like. She's like, I know, because we haven't even talked on the phone. So then we meet in this hotel lobby in Memphis. And it was just supercharged. And I thought it'd be emotional. It really wasn't. It was like we hugged, and it was just like, oh, it was like a piece of me and a piece of her had been missing. We just went into lockstep and went around and were loud and thought we were hilarious. And ever since then, we've had the best time and continued to share and support each other. And she's like a sister.
Well, it sounds like you said you are the most changed. Tell us what this has done for you in your life, not only in the microcosm of talking to Dana, but in talking to all your other pen pals, if I may say.
Right. What I didn't understand was how meaningful this was going to be. And it's not like I sat down and thought it wasn't going to be meaningful, but I had no idea what a letter was going to mean to somebody, Dana, or much less the other 600 people. But what I didn't understand, Jackie, if you wrote me a letter and I went out to my mailbox and got this letter out of the mailbox, I didn't understand what kind of magic moment that was going to be to someone in 2021, 22, 2024. Because what's going to happen is I'm going to pull that letter out of the mailbox. And regardless of what it says inside, people were going to hold that in their hand and they were going to say, immediately they're going to connect the dots. Here's what Jackie had to do to make this happen in my mailbox. She had to sit down, she had to find paper, she had to put something down on the paper, she had to put it in the envelope and seal it, she had to find my address, she had to put it on there. Wait a second, where are the stamps? We don't even have those here anymore. Put a stamp on there, put the return address on there. Then she had to get in her car and she had to drive across Dayton, Ohio and find the mailbox or the post office, and she had to put it in. And so when I pull it out on the other end, I'm going to hold it in my hand and I'll be like, oh my God, I matter to another human being. How much do I matter? I matter this much. It was effort. It was financial. It was, they had to go out of their house to do it. And that feeling of, oh my gosh, I matter. And then they open the letter. And then if it says something, and I can speak a lot to that, meaningful or whatever it says, you can't really get it wrong, then you're going to be like, oh my gosh, it's going to blow people's mind, and you didn't even know that for 66 cents in about 15 minutes of your time, that you could literally change the trajectory, not just of someone's day, of their entire year probably. And I had no idea that impact. And so you think about that happened to me 600 times. And when people started to respond, I was like, oh my God, I've unleashed this complete flood of good, and I didn't even mean to. And then part two of that, what the letter says, and this is the great story, because I pulled that first name out and I was like, oh my God, what do I even say? Like, literally, what am I going to say to these people? You think about that. It's a daunting thing, but it was very natural. What I did as I went, and so if I'm writing you, Bill, I go and look at your Facebook profile and I spend time looking at you as an individual. And it was such a incredible part of the process, because first of all, I'm like, oh, Bill, look what he's done. He's an emergency room doctor. He started this podcast to help people because he didn't know what to do himself. And now he's helping people get on track financially where they can be independent later in life. And so the first thing I'm going to be like, Bill, we went to junior high school together. You played the saxophone and I played the trombone. And now you're killing it. I'm proud to be your friend. And I never even stopped. I kind of knew what you were doing, but I never stopped and looked at you as a person. And then maybe I found out that you lost your mother or you had a kid that was struggling with something that I could offer support. I'd be like, man, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry that you're having to go through that. And then the best part would be I'd sit back before I'd finish the letter. I'd be like, Bill, you were the guy that when that guy picked on me in junior high school and called me a dork, you were like, hey, we're not putting up with that. We're not going to take that from him. You're not going to let this define you. We're going to go play tetherball. It's going to be awesome. And so that's what we did. And I'd be like, Bill, thank you. Because now that I'm a mom and I've been through all this, I realize you made a difference in my life. So thank you. So that's what the letters had in them. Not because I'm a great person, but I was trying to fill 2 pages, guys. I had to say something. But the combination of the intentionality of letters plus the stuff that I ended up saying because I needed something to say, oh my gosh. The number one response I got from people with these letters was, I will save your letter in a special place for the rest of my life. Like, boom.
Wow. Hey, Bill, I got my CFP credential a few years ago, but you had been talking about possibly getting yours, and you were so interested in that CFP level knowledge. Are you still interested in that?
Yeah, but I don't want the credentials. How do I do it, a little bit on the lighter version?
Well, I think I got just the thing for you. I got with my friends at the Boston Institute of Finance, and guess what? They have come up with a personal growth track curriculum that is for people that just want to expand their own knowledge. They don't need course credit, but they want that CFP level education. And it's going to be for a lot less than what you would normally pay for going for the CFP.
Well, do they have different programs? My schedule's a little off. Do I have to be live for classes, or how does it work?
I know you're a busy guy at the hospital all the time, but they have 2 options. They have self-paced courses that you can either take individual, you can just take tax if you want, or they have the instructor-led courses. So probably you'd like the flexible one. But the good thing is that you can learn on the go. Their whole program is mobile friendly, and you could use your iPad, you can use your cell phone, but they make it super easy. So I think it might be just for you.
It sounds like it. I'll check it out.
Yeah, just check out bostonifi.com/personal-growth. We'll drop it in the show notes, but it could be something that will help you up your game. I think that's so fascinating. I'm very curious about the responses that you got. Like, was the receptive very warm all the time when you asked for their mailing address? Was anyone paranoid and thinking that there's something up and they thought didn't know what to expect and that maybe taken in a negative way? I'm just curious about some of the receptions that you got when you asked people for their address to start writing them.
That's a great question. It's a great question because if you think about it, if someone messages you and says, can I have your physical address? That is a daunting thing. And because I tried to, especially at the beginning of the project, find an address a different way without asking, because there was the element of the surprise in the letters, that magic in the mailbox that I really liked because that was created. But my last resort was, hey, what's your address? And surprisingly, I got about 97% of the addresses I asked for, but I did have quite a few people say, well, can you verify, like in Bill's case, let's say he's the junior high school guy. Can you verify like how we met? Like, can you, like, because they wanted to know. And then I started telling people they just couldn't believe that my entire thing was I was just writing a letter. Like I wasn't going to sell your address to Amazon. A drone was going to fly by and drop you something. I didn't want you to join a club. I didn't want you to buy something because we're all programmed to believe that. But when they realized that it was just a letter, they were like, okay. I mean, there was probably 15 people who never got a letter because they didn't want to give me their address. Fair enough. But once I got about halfway through the letters, people started to expect them. And then it got a lot easier to get the address or whatever else I needed.
Well, it sounds like they would worry that you were a stalker because in some ways you are. You're going through, I mean, people put this stuff out on Facebook. They put their lives out there so that it's there for, as a friend, it's there for you to see. But then when you call them on it and say, yeah, I have been searching you and looking for you and trying to find you, do they feel almost embarrassed and not receptive because it's more of a dumping zone for all the usually positive things in their life? People don't always talk about the cancer in their life. Right. They'll talk about the trips that they took and other things that do, all the positive things. And we think our lives are sort of Facebook, Instagram pristine when they're not. And you're getting into the messy stuff, right?
Right. And 100%. I think a lot of the stuff that people shared that I found out about, those struggles, they told me about after they got their letter. Like they would write me back and tell me what was really going on. The whole thing, what you would expect is this is what the life looks like, but this is what's really going on. So a lot of that was after the fact sharing. Like they would tell me something in their letter back to me or their message back to me that I didn't know from looking at Facebook. But I never had anyone really say, I can't believe you got up all in my business. And I think it's because when they got the letter, they felt special and they felt like someone saw them and they felt like an individual that mattered to someone. That was by and large the response. In the first paragraph of every letter, I told people about Dana and Parker. This is why I'm doing it. And then I said every single time, I'm writing every single Facebook friend. Over and over again, people be like, you chose me. I was selected. I've been picked. I'm one of the chosen ones. I was like, no, I picked everybody. But that's how it made them feel. And I guess, Bill, that overwhelming feeling of feeling like they mattered meant more than me getting all up in their Facebook profile. That I'm just guessing.
Yeah, and we're in a world of scammers and spammers and stuff like that. People are paranoid. They're always wondering, was this person trying to take me for a ride or whatever? And then you come in with the soft approach. And even if you encountered a few that had that paranoia, you somehow broke through. So, whatever your approach was, it must have been effective. And you started me thinking about doing something else. So, I wonder if this crept into things as well. So, I thought about my older relatives. Like, I've got relatives, aunts, and things like that that are like in their 70s, maybe getting close to their 80s, where everything is technology now. And I thought Amy has a really good point about handwritten letters. And I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to. I need to just do it this week. I want to write them a handwritten letter and just say, I know in this technology world, you don't get letters anymore. So I wanted to send you a special something. Yeah, it just made me kind of think about who would really appreciate something like this. So I'm going to try it with some of my older relatives and see what they think. I'm
Yeah.
curious about the response.
No, I think it'll be incredible. And I think that's the important thing about I've told the story so many times, and it's easy to get caught up in like, oh my God, it was 600 letters to everyone. That doesn't need to be if there was a call to action or anything. Everyone, I just wish people would digest the story. If they're inspired by it or they feel like they need to do something, just do it in your own way. You can write one letter and that be it and call it. And I mean, you can still have an impact with that. I think it's just overwhelming. And I've had so many people tell me, just like you just did, Jackie, like, here's what I want to do with it. Yes. Like there's been so many great outcomes of people taking this and being like, here's what I want to do. Like, here's my take on the story. Like if there's an inspiration to it. And I think that's what Dana and I both love. And if the story inspires anyone to do anything, that's great, but just to do it in the context of what makes sense for them.
Yeah, well, can you give me any tips before I start writing these letters? I was going to write them. I'm like, let me see if Amy has any good tips on letter writing skills. Like,
Right.
what should I put in the letter? Like, how should I write the letter?
Well, I think that the number one rule in letter writing is there's no rules, because if you're doing something out of goodwill and love, taking it to the next level, then there's really no way you can get it wrong. You can write 2 sentences, Jackie. I love you and I'm thinking about you, and that can do it. I mean, you could do it with a sticky note and have the same impact of somebody writing 10 pages, because it's about the act of kindness or love or goodwill or whatever we want to call it. That's the point. And so it's got to fit your personality, whatever that is.
I'm still a believer, for example, in old-fashioned Christmas cards, and then taking each of them and writing
Yeah,
out
I got one of
something on
those.
them. Yes, yes. I mean, to me, that still matters, and people are doing all digital cards, and it's easier, it's cheaper, it's faster, and you can have maybe a bigger impact and scale it. But who are the 100 most important people in your life?
Right.
And what should it take to write them every year, once a year, and say, you know what? I'm thinking of you. This is a time of gratitude and joy and thanks. And I just want to say thank you for being in my life. And that's, I think, all you really got to say,
Aw.
right?
And you can't know. Here's what I found out too, guys. You can't know. Not everyone's going to tell you what it means because they don't know how to do it. Not everyone can respond in a way to let you know. I learned over and over again that I did not need a response from Dana. I lost track. I mean, the responses overtook me too. But I didn't need anybody to tell me that I'd made a difference. And I almost like to think about the people I never heard from, because those letters could have had just as much impact as the people I heard from. We don't need a response necessarily to validate that we've made a difference. Only we've been conditioned because, and I don't think there's anything wrong with electronic communication. It definitely has its place. But when I don't know if you read it, it doesn't say read at 9:59 a.m. I have no clue, but there's a power in that because it sets you free from all that. But the 25% of the people I didn't hear from who didn't respond to my letter, those people, it might have meant more to them than it did to the 74% I did hear from.
And did they write you back, or did they take the easier route?
By and large, there was I have a little infographic here. 74% of the people responded, and this is the ways they responded. So by and large, it was handwritten note or letter, and I think they just thought it was cool because nobody's written anybody a letter in a long time. But there was also Facebook messages, there was emails and texts and hugs in person, all that kind of stuff. So.
And how many of these people have you since met in person or participated in Zoom calls with them and taken it to the next level?
A bunch, but not, I mean, I think it's definitely depthened my relationship with the original 580. I mean, because this exchange, this personal exchange, there was no way I could keep up with it. But I know that people have showed up for me. I felt compelled to physically show up to things I wouldn't have because of the letters. At the end of the Facebook project, right after it ended, my father passed away suddenly. And my brother and sister would laugh at the memorial service and at the hospital. People would show up and they'd be like, oh, it's the letter people. The letter people are here. Because they got a letter and they felt compelled. So it depthened. I felt different when I hugged people after the letters because it did something. It made the relationship, like it took it from electronic creature and it turned it like into a flesh and bone, like really human connection.
I mean, to me, what seems that you're giving them in reality, even if you send just a card that says, love Bill, love Jackie, love Amy, should that be appropriate? What you're giving them is your time. You've, just like you said before, you're taking the time to think about that one person for a moment. And our time is like our most precious resource. It's a non-renewable resource. And you're giving somebody a piece of that, right?
Right. And then you had to make the effort, like I said, to take it somewhere and mail it. It wasn't easy. You did that because they mattered to you. And I just did not understand that the power of that. And it's so applicable in you can use it for business. You can use it personally. I mean, you could use it a bunch of different ways. And the real sign that this is something with real power is that look at all these companies who are employing AI or robots to write handwritten letters with actual ink. There's software, there's hardware that does this. It's because it is next level connection between human beings. It is.
Yeah, I mean, can't you tell the difference between an AI handwritten note from your boss and a truly handwritten note from your boss, really? I mean, and wouldn't a AI handwritten note be almost counterintuitive, counterproductive than a handwritten one?
Right, right. And it's, yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. You can totally tell. And the other thing about handwriting someone is, unless you're prepared to start over from the beginning over and over and over again, you're going to show that you're a human being with flaws in your own handwriting, no matter how you do it, because you're going to misspell things, you're going to scratch it out. But what a comfort to know that you're dealing with someone who's as human and messed up as you are. And the other thing is, it's so intimate. So, Jackie, if you mail Bill, oh, you got Bill's Christmas card. You're holding in
I
your
did.
hands something that Bill held in his hands. And that is so meaningful. And that has no monetary value, but it has worth beyond measure. And I say this not in some vacuum of, I think this is what could be. I saw it over and over and over again. And the best part of the whole story is this. You asked how it changed me. If I reach out to you with nothing but goodwill on the line, no angles, no sales, nothing, and then you reply to me in kind, then all of a sudden, all this stuff that separates us in this divisive culture we live in, the politics, the religion, where do you stand on gender equality, like all this stuff, it certainly matters. What we believe certainly matters. It just starts to dissipate when it comes down to Amy and Jackie in high school, or me and Bill in junior high school, or your cousin or your neighbor or whatever. That connection and reminding yourself why we're connected to another human being, their personal value to you, their personal value as an individual with a real, messy, wonderful life. That's what matters. And it starts to bridge that divide between people because there's so much hope in that, in our personal connections. It's really the hope I think we've been looking for.
Yeah.
And Bill, she kind of inspired us to add a personal touch for our guest. And so we'll be sending you this as well. But you know how I love my $2 bills. But we decided we're going to give these to all of our guests with our little catching up to FI logo on the back with a nice handwritten note. I did my first two last week.
Aw.
And I think it is a very special touch. And like you said, they know that we touched it. They know that we thought about them even after they were on the show. And they were really special to us. We consider them, everyone that's been on the show, we consider them a friend, including you. So thank you for dropping that little nugget of inspiration for us and the show.
Well, I really appreciate it. And that means you're showing people that they're valued by you enough to make that, again, to make that effort. That's beautiful.
Well, we've had people that are guests on the show because we thank everybody, usually with an email. And they've said, you're the first podcast host that's thanked us for coming on the show. It's not a one-way street. And I did give you my time, an hour of my valuable time to help our audience be motivated like we've been motivated. And I like to see it in my kids in the same way. We just had Mother's Day, right? This is the day after Mother's Day. And my son had called. One of my sons had called my wife the night before and said, well, I didn't send you anything for Mother's Day. And she says, don't worry about it. Just write me a note. And what he did do was unbelievable. He is a very big Dungeons and Dragons player and dungeon master. He created, it wasn't handwritten, but it was just as poignant. He created a character in her name and told her life story in a soliloquy that was about a page long as this marvelous, powerful character in her own story. And it brought tears to our eyes. I mean, and we're going to frame it. I mean, these handwritten letters, these notes, these thoughts, these stories. I mean, I save these Christmas cards, the ones we receive in kind or the ones we get. I have 20 years of Christmas cards in Ziploc bags and as a pack rat in my attic. And someday when I'm retired, like Jackie or something else, and I have a little time on my hands, I may go back through them and create collages. Who knows?
Well, I was about to say, after you're gone, what's going to happen to those? Somebody's going to toss them or what?
It's like those old scrapbooks, right?
Yeah,
I have those from when I was a kid where you save stuff. And so digitally, it's so easy. And the great part about that is you have access, right? They're not sitting in a box in the attic. But these things are saved. An important bottle of wine that you drank that you signed with the friends that were there. We've done that for anniversaries. Your house is a scrapbook of your life. The things on your walls, the things on your floors, the trinkets on the shelves. It's for us, it's where we've traveled. I look up on my walls here now, there are maps of places we've been and pictures of places we've been. And you want to touch those because those memories, like the memory of getting a handwritten letter, are such a valuable space in our brains. Those are the things that feel good. Those are the long-standing dopamine hits as opposed to the quick fixes that we are searching for in social media these days.
Right. And I mean, people have provided, if they knew their Christmas cards were precious enough to them, the ones that they sent to you, that you held on to them because that's what it meant to you. That's just a testament to the whole, it illustrates how powerful it is. And it could be sticky notes on the front of someone's car. Like you said, it could be the Dungeons and Dragons bio. You'll save that forever. And that's why we all got to encourage each other to do what's, like my thing was, let's go nuts and write all those letters. But I wouldn't have done that without friends and a husband and a community that supported me and encouraged me to do that. So us encouraging each other to act on whatever that is we feel like we need to go and do. Dana was here at my house a few weeks ago, and she left a sticky note on each of our bathroom mirrors.
Interestingly enough, too, you can write it in the dirt on somebody's car. When my wife and I met, we would park our cars in the parking lot during residency next to each other, and we'd write little love notes in the dirt on the car because we didn't have the time to go for a car wash, or we couldn't afford a car wash, or whatever. But we have very fond memories of that, and of the sticky notes, and of the refrigerator material that you put up there. There are so many of these things that when they're handwritten, imprinted with your time, that people have a hard time throwing away, just like your friends that said, I'm going to keep this letter forever.
We are super excited for one of our new partners. It's called Create Your Own Financial Plan. And this is a comprehensive video course by our friend Cody Garrett. He's with Measure Twice Money, and he's been on our podcast. And we love this course that he has put out. So if you are a true do-it-yourselfer and you've been wanting to put together a financial plan, check him out. I've gone through the course myself, and I have nothing but praise for it and the quality of work that Cody Garrett does. Cody Garrett is a CFP, so you're getting the mind and the experience of a CFP that you can trust. You just need to go to measuretwicemoney.com/catching up, and you will get $100 off this course. And again, that is Measure Twice Money Catching Up.
We went on a book tour, Dana and I, with dear Dana, and every city, it was like 17 cities, every city we went to, I think without exception, someone showed up with their letter, with their Facebook letter, like they were a rock star. They were like, look, I've got one of the letters. And it looked like they'd kept it, it was barely even folded up. I mean, it just goes to show you. And again, I was surprised by that because I didn't understand what it meant.
Well, this is like a perpetual high school reunion in some ways, whether it be a high school, college, or early life reunion, because there are people that are formidable in our lives, and then our lives move on. We have seasons and stages of life, but it doesn't mean those people aren't any less important. And it's the ones that you want to reach back out to and they say, yeah, I've been thinking about you too. Thank you for reaching out.
Right. And that's another big lesson I learned was because when you sit down to write it, and Jackie, you asked, like, how do you start that? I got caught up several times, was like, I can't say this to Mrs. Collins from 7th grade, my science teacher. But I realized it's never, ever too late to tell another human being that you care about them or you remember them or you value them. It doesn't mean you have to be BFFs moving forward. You're just, like you said, you're saying, I appreciated you then. And it's never ever too late to say that. And it's not awkward. Based on my experience of all these different personalities and all these different people, it was nothing but well received, no matter how many years it could be. And then you're left with your grateful meter going like this. And it's, I mean, it is such a life-changing set of emotions.
Is there anything you would say to our audience? Is there any late starter twist on this that you would say that this is of a special benefit to our stage of life in our 40s and 50s?
Well, I think absolutely. One, we were letter writers. We've got an advantage over the people before us because we've done it before. We might even remember our friends' handwriting. But I think the other thing is it does tie in well with our time in life because we're getting to that plateau where we're more nostalgic and we have maybe a little bit more time as our kids start to leave our homes. And it's a good time to look back, as we're already looking back if you look at it that way. It also is an opportunity where, and this isn't maybe necessarily applicable to 40 and 50-year-olds, but to everyone, we live in a world where we're pretty sure it's a world that we can't make a difference in. It's a world that we can't really get up in the morning and do anything about all the stuff that has gone wrong with our human culture. But, and I said this earlier, but for 66 cents and about 10 minutes of your time, you can actually do something for someone else. You can do something to turn the tide. And we really are the perfect generation to do that, though. From what we have behind us and what we have ahead of us, we are the perfect generation to formulate that kind of change. Because we got one leg old school, one leg new school.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is, at least we can write in cursive. We don't have to do cursive in the letter, but we can write cursive. We all had cursive in high school. And actually, I don't know if you knew this, Bill, but when I was in elementary school, I got an A+ for handwriting. I got to exempt it because my handwriting was so good. But
Wow.
because I've gotten out of practice, it's pretty awful. And I know yours as a doctor, like you mentioned, Bill, is awful handwriting.
Yeah, I mean, that's a problem because you got to, even my print is terrible. You've got to write it so people can read it, right? So they're not scratching their heads wondering, what are you actually saying? But Jackie, that brings up a point to me. I have never seen your handwriting. I have never gotten a handwritten note from you. And you've gotten one from me.
You have, you know what? I did take a picture. The last guest that I sent a $2 bill to, I of course did a handwritten note and I took a picture just so I could show you. So
Okay.
I'll show
Well,
it
I
to
look
you.
forward to seeing your handwriting. Now, Amy, you started touching on this, and I want to close out the show and summarize things for our audience because your core values that you espouse on your website are sort of a great way of summarizing the impacts of letter writing to, and you may not remember them, so I'm happy to prompt you, but I loved your core values. And one of the ones you said was it's never too late to tell someone that you care about them.
Right. Yeah, and that goes back to what I said, and that was just based on my experience of writing the letters, because you feel awkward. I don't know, everyone's, maybe that's part of our generation too. I mean, the late starters, we were raised without talking about our feelings a whole lot in our homes, maybe in our families. I think that when I sat down to write the letters, one of the things I felt awkward about was I haven't seen this person in 30 years. I can't tell them what they meant to me 30 years ago. That's awkward. And I think we grew up too in a generation in the 60s and 70s where those things weren't discussed as much as they were now. We didn't emote as much. And that's one of the things late starters probably have in common, your audience. But it is never just based on the responses I got and telling people how I felt and really pushing myself just to be brave and put it in the letter and then drop it in the mailbox and drive home and act like it never happened was over and over again. People thanked me for saying the things that I said and told me how much it meant to them and told me it was basically life changing that someone had acknowledged them in that way. Because I think in this big world we get lost. We get lost in getting beat down in regular everyday life. And when someone comes and shows up and tells us how they feel about us, I mean, it is life changing.
Yeah, I mean, people want to be seen. And when
Hmm.
you write a letter, you're seeing them. Another of your
Hmm.
core values is, and I love this, we don't have everything figured out, and that's a good thing. Can you tell us what you mean by that?
Right, absolutely. Well, I think we live in a scientific world. I guess the way to frame this is I found out in writing the letters, people would say stuff, oh, the timing of your letter was perfect. And I was just drawing names out of this box every morning. And there was a magical element to this, and everybody can frame it however they want to, whether it's faith-based or the spirituality or however they want to frame it. But the story of human connection and love can't be defined or quantified. And over again, I found out this whole thing in connections and love and hope, it's just off the chains. We just have to let it go. We can't explain it. The connection between Dana and I, we can't explain it. We just have to go with it. That's why going on your gut instinct, going on the things that you think are crazy, but you do them anyway. There's so much beauty in that because you don't have to have it figured out. You just plod forward and try to do what you feel like you need to do.
And Amy, you mentioned your dad, and I'm sure a lot of what you learned, a lot of your core values come from what you learned from him. But you had mentioned to us that he was a late starter and didn't know what he was doing with money. Can you share that with us again?
Yeah, absolutely. Dad grew up in a small town in Centerville, Ohio, which is very ironic because then he came to Houston and worked for Shell Oil Company and had some success and he started making money and he grew up with two parents who were depression era parents who didn't even own a automobile. And so he said he started making this money in the big town of Houston, Texas, and he didn't know what to do with the money. He was like, what do I do with the money? There was no financial literacy classes in the 50s. There was nobody, his parents had never made any money. So when he's making money, he's like, what do I do with this? And so he made all kinds of mistakes and invested in stuff and had no guidance. And so when my brother and sister and I came along, he was like, I'm not going to let that happen to my kids. I'm going to explain to my kids what they should do. So my dad actually every year when we were in high school, my sister started bouncing checks, and he was so offended by this. So he set up this he called it the Weinland Financial Seminar. And so every year we would gather together, and he would teach us different financial tools and elements, the time value money. He made us read books, and we took tests on them. And so he wanted us to be prepared financially in a way that he wasn't. And since he's gone, and this is one of the reasons your podcast resonated so much with me, since he's gone, I don't have that advice anymore. And it was almost like dialing into home when I heard y'all, because I was like, wait, these are my people. These are my dad, making sure that not just me, but everybody else out there has somebody in their life who's going to help them with this in the same way that y'all felt like I think y'all needed the help as well. So that's my dad's story. My dad was also an out of the box thinker. My dad knew about the Facebook Letter Project, and he called it my great social experiment. So his fingerprints are all over my entire story, obviously.
Yeah, and I'm definitely catching all those y'alls. I'm originally from South Carolina and Georgia, and then Texas also says it. So I slip out the y'alls all the time too. So
Yeah.
I can hear it. I can hear it. And it sounds great. And it's so impressive how the influence that your dad had over you and all of your core values too.
Well, she's got to write the reviews of the podcast. What she just said really struck home. She found her people, and it reminds her of her dad. I mean, that makes a great review.
Yeah, I can put that in writing.
Bill. All right, there's Bill's pitch.
Well, our audience should write reviews too. I mean, if we're making a difference,
we do love reviews.
We're writing love letters to our audience every week out of the goodness of our heart. We're not doing this for monetary gain. We're just trying to help, and we've almost reached 500,000 downloads. I mean, that's 500,000 letters in some ways, right? The human voice is as warm and inviting as a handwritten letter, probably. So it's almost a synonym to talk about calling somebody, leaving a voice message, as opposed to writing a text. There are levels of communication, and letter writing is one of the highest levels and most intimate levels of communication. Next best, maybe calling them up.
Right. And that was beautifully said, because this story has connected me to so many like-minded people. And I feel like we're all going towards the same thing, and we're just approaching it from different angles, and the opportunity to support each other and to learn from each other. It is a beautiful thing, and what an honor to be on here and to meet both of you and discuss it with you. So.
Well, we'll sum this up too by reminding you of one more core value you have, because this is the pebble in the pond effect. You talk about we have no idea the impact that we have on other people. While we can gauge the ripple effect of our attempts at goodness, we should never stop trying. I mean, you sent letters that you didn't get responses to, but it was definitely a pebble in the pond. It definitely had ripples, and you can't expect in return when you give. There's a book called The Go Giver out there that is a classic business school book that really preaches this concept of give without expecting anything in return.
Yep.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, this was so awesome. So we want to thank you for joining us today, Amy. I mean, I got so much out of it. Bill, I know that you did too. What would you want to leave with our late starters, Amy? This was just so enlightening for me, and I'm sure a lot of our audience.
Yeah, I would encourage everyone to go and write one note, and not in a, like, you don't have to go get a bunch of stationery, and just go to Target or Walmart, get the smallest note card they have, and just write 4 sentences into it. Because I think every time I tell the story, someone tells me they had somebody in their mind the whole time, kind of like my Dana had somebody in their mind maybe they wanted to reconnect with, and or share something with, or just say one thing to. I would encourage them, just do that one thing, and then just see what happens.
Well, that's our ask for this week, folks. We have 5,000 listeners in the first week. We want to hear about 5,000 letters or notes that you've written to make an impact in somebody's life. And then we want everybody to send a letter to Amy too.
No, absolutely, do it. My address is on my website.
How do we get her address, right?
No, it's on
Amy,
my website.
Is your address on your website? Do you take letters?
It is, and I'll tell you why my address is on my website, because when I met with your friend Doc G, he told me I need to participate in address transparency. So he was really the difference maker. So it is on my website. I look forward to your letter, and I will write you back.
Well, you're going to get one from us, and we really thank you for the message you're putting out in the world. It is a bit anachronistic. It seems old-fashioned. It seems out of date. It seems out of touch. But in contrary, I would say it's one of the most in-touch things that we can do. So thank you, Amy, for joining us today for a little chat on Catching Up to Fi.
All right. Thank you, Bill and Jackie. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
So, Bill, as you know, we cannot do this show without our amazing staff and the people that help us put this on. So our social media is Diana Falk. Our editor, Fritz Bassard. And show notes are done by Sarah von Sternberg. We love them and they keep us going.
Yeah, I mean, this show wouldn't have the quality it has without our folks, our peeps. And we'd also like to give you a few calls to action for the show. We love our community and we hope you love us back. If you want to support the show and what we're doing, you can do that at Buy Me a Coffee, which is a platform that allows you to virtually say thank you if you get value from our content. The link is in the show notes, or you can head over to our website at CatchingUpToFi.com and click on the Support the Podcast tab at the top right. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Catching Up to Fi. We would appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star review so that our message can reach others.
While we are financial educators, and I'm a financial professional that loves to teach, our content is for general education and information purposes only. We are not providing financial, legal, or tax advice. Always do your own research or consult a professional before making important decisions.
We'll see you next time on Catching Up to Fi.